Hey guys, TRex here, and here for the latest installment of this hypothetical Nintendo Cinematic Universe created by me. Everyone, we have the conclusion of the Metroid trilogy today, and this one is called The Last Metroid. So everyone, let's start with our characters. We got Samus, Baby Metroid, mystery character that'll get revealed later, Anthony Higgs, the EMMIs, you'll find out what those are, Dark Samus, Old Bird, and Mother Brain. And with the setting, we have Series K2L, Phase, and Zebes. We ended off Metroid Prime with Samus being on the run from the Federation for wrongly being accused of wiping out and killing her entire platoon on Phase with the help of the space pirates. She was falsely accused of this. And now we are picking up this story from there. And now, let's talk about the plot points. So right off the bat, this story is going to start off with an EMMI operation. This is mission number 086, as in this is their 86th mission with the Federation. The EMMIs are extraplanetary multiform mobile identifiers. They're very efficient android soldiers, if you will. They are dispatched in an unknown mission. There are 7 EMMIs. They're white, gray, green, yellow, blue, purple, and orange. So they're all different colors. They're tall, flexible, and highly durable androids that have flawlessly completed 85 previous missions for the Galactic Federation and assassinated any target they were given. But for this mission, they are released from a Federation cruiser and they land on the surface of the planet Brio. There is a space pirate base there, one of the few remaining ones, and all 7 EMMIs infiltrate the base easily. There are multiple space pirates there managing the facility, but the EMMIs are master at stealth, able to adjust and contort their bodies to move without making a single sound. They sneak through the facility as details are revealed about the mission. Anthony Higgs is revealed at the Ceres space colony, watching the EMMIs POVs through their camera systems. Anthony explains that the EMMIs are here to confirm a rumor that they heard from their inside man, the true identity of the leader of the space pirates. The EMMIs masterfully maneuver their way throughout the facility for a while, and they eventually make it to an empty room. The EMMIs are revealed in great detail, and they all have different colors, like I said before. They wait around, and the white EMMI gives a beeping signal, activating patrol mode. A space pirate emerges from the darkness of the room, revealed as the Federation's inside man. The space pirate is relieved and thankful they showed up, saying he got all the information they needed. Anthony listens from the colony, and the space pirate begins telling the EMMIs what he knows. The space pirate tells the EMMIs that the leader of the space pirates goes by Mother Brain, and that she's been running the entire operation from the shadows. The white EMMI approaches the space pirate, standing mere inches from him, and towers over him in an intimidating manner. The white EMMI is kind of the leader of the EMMIs. The space pirate stammers, asking the EMMIs if they're going to save him and take it back to Ceres since he confirmed the rumor, and the white EMMI asks the space pirate how he got the information. On the verge of panicking, the space pirate tells the EMMIs he gained favor with Mother Brain and was able to find out this information by getting close to her and finding out various things from the high-ranking space pirates. The yellow EMMI tells him that even if they didn't know he was lying, how would he have gotten close to Mother Brain if he still doesn't know her location? The white EMMI continues, saying that no piece of information is given without something in return. The white EMMI gets in the terrified space pirate's face, telling the space pirate that he gave valuable Federation information to the space pirates in return for this information. The space pirate tries to assure them that he did no such thing, and that the space pirates don't know a thing about her. The white EMMI then asks why the space pirates know about Samus Aran's fusion with Parasite X DNA. The space pirate freezes, and the gray EMMI pulls up an audio recording of the space pirate having a conversation with a high-ranking space pirate, revealing the exchange of information of Mother Brain's identity with the inside man space pirate, telling them about Samus's bond with Parasite X DNA. The space pirate tries to defend himself, asking what the big deal is with Samus anyway. The white EMMI tells him that Samus Aran is on the run from the Galactic Federation, and now that Mother Brain knows about Samus's secret with her being on the run, if the space pirates find her first, they can create a new generation of X-Parasite powered Metroids with the DNA extracted from her. The green EMMI jumps in, saying, so yes, it is a very big deal. The space pirate is shaking all over, and the tone of the scene is very intense. The white EMMI speaks again, saying that the space pirate asked if they're here to save him. The space pirate begins falling, but the blue EMMI catches him from behind, hoisting him in the air and firmly gripping him by the back of his neck. The white EMMI finishes by saying that no, they're not here to save him. They're here to erase every last trace of his treachery. The white EMMI then summons a sharp blade from the red light in its face and brutally kills the inside man space pirate off screen. Once they're done, the EMMIs plant explosive around the base, and when they leave Brio, they destroy the space pirate base. Mother Brain is revealed in her glass enclosure on Zebes, as the audience knows where Mother Brain is, but the characters don't, and utters Samus's name, declaring that the space pirates will find her and use her DNA to bring ruin unto all opposing civilizations, with the space pirates standing atop their graves. After the EMMIs return to the Ceres space colony, they march through the facility with the scientists not being able to help, but stare at them in fear as they march back to their enclosures and the colony. Anthony Higgs thinks hard from his position, thinking about the information they had learned about Mother Brain and the space pirates now knowing about Samus's secret. Anthony goes to the planet Ceres to wander around. Ceres is revealed, showing how much the energy source of Phazon had helped out with the power issue and made it a thriving civilization again. This was also because of Samus and her finding the Phazon. He remembers confronting Samus about the evidence against her that she supposedly killed her whole squad, and how Samus became a fugitive from the Federation. He also thinks about what he saw on Phase when they were extracting Phazon. Dark Samus, who was phasing in and out of Samus's form and its own. Anthony approaches the High Council building to speak to them. The High Council asks Anthony if the Federation has found Samus yet, and Anthony responds saying no, they haven't, but this is bigger now than just her allegedly wiping out her entire platoon. The council stops and clarifies, allegedly? And they remind Anthony of the overwhelming evidence and remind him of the video recording of Samus and the space pirates slaughtering Samus's squad on Phase. This is the Hunters that were with Samus. Anthony tells them the situation doesn't add up, as he really thought about it, and says that Samus is the one who registered the Hunters as part of her squad so they could earn a share of the bounty from the Federation. So then why would Samus kill them at the end of the mission just to reclaim the bounty for herself? The council says it doesn't matter what her motives were, and the fact remains that Samus aligned herself with the space pirates and killed her platoon, which is treason. Anthony, visibly frustrated, tells them he saw something on Phase that took on Samus's form, and he thinks that Samus has been framed by this thing. The council says that's preposterous and that the Federation has no records of any shape-shifting space pirates that could do such a thing. Anthony sighs and says he's going to find the truth behind this, and whether or not Samus is guilty, they have to find her before the space pirates do. On Zebes, multitudes of space pirate cruisers are seen diving in from space to the surface of the planet, traveling down a mysterious secret cavern. Old Bird is revealed from the secret Chozo village that's on Zebes, and the Chozo tribe in the village on Zebes watches this happen. The space pirate cruisers land in the cavern, and several high-ranking space pirates approach Mother Brain in her glass enclosure. They bow before her, and the leading space pirate asks what they have been summoned here for. Mother Brain tells them to look for the bounty hunter, Samus Aran, and that the power she holds will change everything. The space pirates fly out of the cavern, and the cruisers scatter throughout space in pursuit of Samus. Anthony returns to the Ceres space colony and shows clear signs of stress, having no clue where Samus could be. He enters a research lab and goes through records, looking for any clues that might lead to Samus's location. He goes through multiple records, and an approaching scientist asks what he's doing. He tells her he's looking for clues that might lead to Samus, and the scientist goes on with her day. He continues looking and gets to Rodney Aaron's file. He recognizes the last name and finds out that this is Samus's father, who worked as a scientist for the Federation. Anthony browses through the file, seeing Virginia Aaron as his spouse, revealing that she was a soldier for the Federation, and Anthony gets to the section where it says Home World. Anthony looks at it and finds K2L as the home world. Anthony looks up, puts the file back down, and exits the room. The scientist asks Anthony if he found what he was looking for, and Anthony hesitates, then saying, no, she's really difficult to track. Anthony gets in a Federation cruiser and turns off the tracker. He speeds off into space, heading for the planet K2L, hoping for the best. In the Chozo village on Zebes, one of the young adult Chozo members announces to the village that he is going to investigate where those space pirates went. The town begs him not to, and the Chozo member tells them they have been able to hide here for a very long time. However, he feels like the space pirates here are planning something big, and one day it may no longer be safe to live here. So one of them is going to have to see exactly what is going on. On K2L, Anthony arrives in his cruiser and checks out the scenery of the land. He eventually sees the mining colony and sees a lone house sitting near it. He remembers the description of the land in Rodney's records and lands near the entrance of the house. He hesitantly gets out and approaches the house. In the house, Anthony is seen from inside the house with a POV shot. Anthony approaches the front door, knocks, then steps back from the front porch. The door quietly opens, and a woman's face is half visible through the crack of the door. Anthony sighs and tells Samus he just wants to talk, and Samus asks him if she'd really believe anything Anthony has to say, and Anthony pleads with her to just hear him out. Samus hesitates, then fully opens the door, revealing Samus in casual house clothes. Anthony looks around the outside of the house and tells Samus she has a lovely home, and Samus lets Anthony inside. There is a subspace portal entrance in her father's old lab in the basement, and it's briefly revealed. So once Anthony enters, baby Metroid shows up, hissing at him. Samus says it's okay, and they sit inside. Anthony asks Samus if she's going to make them some tea, and Samus says no. She asks how he found her, and Anthony says he's known her long enough to know she values family more than anything. Samus asks where the Federation is, and says it's just him here. The Federation doesn't know he's here. Samus asks about the tracker and the cruisers, and Anthony says he turned his off. Samus is confused and asks Anthony why he did all this, and Anthony says he's finally ready to hear Samus' side of the story. Samus asks him what changed, and Anthony tells her he saw something when his team was extracting Phazon from Phase, and it was at least enough to start asking the right questions. Samus is tense, and Anthony asks her to tell the truth to this question. Did she kill her platoon? Samus looks at him with a determined expression and tells him no. After Samus explains how Dark Samus, a living being formed completely out of raw Phazon, was created and how Dark Samus was the one who killed her team while disguised as Samus, pieces are connected in Anthony's mind. Anthony says that must be who he saw on Phase, and Samus is horrified when she learns that Dark Samus is still alive. Samus asks why else he's here, and Anthony tells her that the Federation isn't the only ones looking for her. Anthony explains how the Federation had an inside man with the space pirates, and that they found out the identity of the ringleader of the space pirates, Mother Brain. However, information was exchanged between the Inside Man and the Space Pirates, and the Inside Man told the Space Pirates about Samus' fusion with the X-Parasite DNA when she was a child. Samus tenses up even more, and Anthony says that's why he needed to find her before the Space Pirates, so they couldn't extract her DNA to create new Metroids bent on the Federation's demise. This is a lot to process for Samus, and Samus tells Anthony he's asking her to help the very people that are hunting her down for treason. Anthony tells her he knows this isn't fair of him to ask, but now that the Space Pirates are revealing their ultimate plan, she is the only one that he can turn to. Samus remembers her memory of her and Scylla stopping the Leviathan on Phase, and how Scylla restrained Samus so Scylla could sacrifice herself. Samus remembers Scylla's words, how Samus is the only one who can stop the Space Pirates, and Samus returns to reality. Samus tells Anthony that someone trusted her to stop the Space Pirates, and now that the Federation created an opportunity to do that, she has an obligation to follow through. Samus asks Anthony if they're going to clear her name, and Anthony tells her it would take about a month to do if the paperwork and court stuff with the High Council goes well. Samus scoffs and clarifies that they don't have that kind of time, but Anthony tells her that he has a plan to get her inside. All of a sudden, they hear an impact land outside, and Anthony and Samus look sharply at the front door. Samus then turns to Anthony with a furious expression and tells him she thought he said the Federation wasn't with him. Anthony tells her if anyone was following him, he didn't know about it. Anthony peers through the front door and sees a space pirate cruiser and the two space pirates getting out. Anthony tells Samus it's the space pirates, and they've already started looking for her. Samus looks concerned, and Anthony tells her they need to hide. The space pirates bust through the door, and they have their scanners and weapons with them. They communicate in an alien language and browse Samus's house. Samus and Anthony are revealed hiding in Rodney's old lab in the basement with the idle subspace portal entrance in the corner of the room, and it goes through them, evading the space pirates' scanners as they patrol the basement as well. They get to the lab, and they have to maneuver around tables and large items in the lab to avoid them. The space pirates eventually end up not being able to find them, and they leave. Once the space pirate cruiser leaves, they're relieved, and Samus asks what his plan is to get her back to the colony. The Chozo member makes a journey and navigates through the rocky cliff area to find where the space pirate cruisers went. He makes dangerous strides and eventually gets to the entrance of the cavern. He can't get much info from there, so he advances inside. There's a space pirate clinging to the top of the cavern, seeing him pass by, and eventually a platoon of space pirates ambush the Chozo member, and they all point their weapons at him, hissing at him. The terrified Chozo member surrenders. Anthony, Samus, and baby Metroid return to the Ceres space colony, and Anthony looks worried as they land on the colony, and Samus does not have her power suit with her. They get out, and Anthony on comms tells Samus to enter that vent over there. He tells her to meet him in the abandoned Omega Metroid section. She nods and she rushes over to the vent. Anthony approaches the entrance, and the troop guarding it greets him, welcoming him back and asking where he was. Anthony tells him he was running some errands and wanted to check up on his old friend Rodney Aaron's house. The guard thinks about Aaron, and he asks if that's Samus's father. Anthony says yeah, he wanted to see if his name would lead to any clues regarding Samus's whereabouts, but he didn't find any. But the guard tells him he sees on the network that Anthony's tracker on his cruiser was turned off, and Anthony tells him it was just a tiny hunch he had, and he wanted to keep his friend's home anonymous out of respect. The guard says he gets that, and he lets Anthony in. Samus on comms from the vents tells Anthony he knows he's never met her father a day in his life, and Anthony tells her he's not the best liar. He asks Samus if she's at the Omega Metroid section yet, and Samus says she's almost there. Anthony accesses the Omega Omega Metroid facility, and one of the researchers of the facility is there waiting for him. Samus from the vents sees a scientist and tenses up. The researcher and Anthony wait for her, and Anthony asks Samus where she is. Samus asks who that scientist is, and Anthony tells her it's okay and that he's with him. Samus opens the vent and drops down stealthily with baby Metroid following suit. The eager young scientist is amazed at how impressive Samus's, I guess, stealth skills are, and Samus approaches the two. Anthony tells Samus that this is Greg, and they're the only two who know Samus is here. Samus asks what they're doing here in the Omega Metroid section, and Anthony cues to Greg to show Samus something. Greg is enthusiastic and begins presenting to Samus what he's been working on. An incredibly impressive power suit is revealed with a distinct red, blue, and white color. Samus is impressed with the suit and asks them what it is. Anthony tells her it's a new prototype suit the Federation has been working on. Greg jumps in and starts telling Samus about the capabilities of the suit, the enhanced missiles, energy absorption, powerful mini-bombs, energy blades, and more powerful gadgets. Anthony tells Samus the suit would eventually be produced for the elite Federation troops, but he doesn't know if even this suit would keep up with Samus's abilities because of how good she is. Samus tells them it's good, and Anthony tells her he knows it's not her mother's suit. But once this is all over and they clear her name, he promises to make several upgrades to her true power suit. Samus agrees with the plan, and Anthony tells her if she keeps the suit on, she'll be able to blend in with the Federation as they fight the space pirates and take down Mother Brain. Mother Brain is revealed again on Zebes, and there are space pirates who periodically arrive with capsules of Phazon. There's a lab around her with the planet's core in the back, and space pirates have been working on concentrating the Phazon into various things like weapons and harnessable energy sources. Mother Brain is furious and tells them all to stop. The space pirates all turn around, and she tells them all this amount of Phazon is pitiful compared to the supply they brought in the past, and asks them what happened. One of the troops steps up and stammers that ever since the Federation arrived at Phase and started extracting their own Phazon, they haven't been able to get as much. Mother Brain stares at the pirate and demands to know what they think they're doing sharing the Phazon extraction with the Federation. The space pirate is terrified and tells her that the Federation is more equipped and can overpower the space pirates at this point. Mother Brain then shrieks in a disturbing way, yelling at them to gather more space pirates and crush them. She notices more space pirates approaching from the entrance and asks what they're doing here. The space pirates reveal the Chozo member they captured, and Mother Brain clarifies that this is a Chozo, asking how he ended up in a place like this. Mother Brain tells the space pirates to scout the surface of Zebes and to gather space pirates scattered across the system to Phase to crush the Federation. A montage is shown of space pirates receiving dispatch messages from other space pirates to meet up on Phase. They all gather and end up meeting together on Phase. A decent number of the Federation Phazon miners all look up in horror and see a massive amount of space pirate cruisers entering the atmosphere. They try to get to cover as the space pirates start bombarding the area with laser blasts and killing the Federation Phazon miners. At the Ceres space colony, Samus puts on the advanced power suit, and Anthony and Greg are both impressed with how good it looks on her. Greg tells Samus this is the Deadly Responsive Energy Accumulation Database suit, or DREAD suit. Anthony tells her that the best part of the suit is that the energy source within these suits is now concentrated Phazon. Samus brightens up, and Anthony finishes by saying that means yes, she is no longer firing dead Metroids at people. Samus nods in approval when all of a sudden the Ceres space colony gets an alert from the team on Phase, saying the space pirates ambush them and they are requesting backup. Commotion stirs in the rest of the facility, and Anthony asks Samus if she's ready to try out her new suit. Samus, the baby Metroid, and Anthony rush out of the Omega Metroid section, and scientists and troops are amazed at the design of Samus's new suit, unaware of who is in the suit, which is what Anthony was going for. As troops start gathering into their cruisers, Anthony tells Samus he'll keep an eye on her and to be careful. Samus and the baby Metroid make it to one of the Federation cruisers, and the baby Metroid hides behind her to be protected by her once they're in the cruiser. The Federation forces blast off in the direction of Phase, where they rush to meet up with the Federation forces there. The space pirates on Zebes lead the Chozo member through the facility to a cell, and they pass by one of the control rooms. He gazes into the room and he sees Dark Samus in there, in an idle position with its suit plugged into some kind of massive generator. One of the space pirates chuckles and tells the Chozo member that's their living Phazon network, and it helps power their Phazon weapons remotely to like different planets and different systems. The Phazon weapons within the space pirate cruisers on Phase are revealed, and Samus and the Federation troops start arriving on Phase to start a battle with them. The Chozo member is taken to a cell, and he sees an unknown figure in a curled up position in the corner. The Chozo member can't help but stare at this figure. The space battle on Phase begins, and the Federation and space pirates start bombarding each other with lasers and missiles. Samus maneuvers a Federation cruiser and tells Anthony over comms, no wonder they couldn't catch her in the gunship. These things suck. Anthony rolls his eyes and tells her to just deal with these pirates. The battle continues and Samus manages to destroy way more space pirate cruisers than the other troops. The ranking officers in the control room with Anthony wonder what that spacecraft is and who's flying it. Anthony hears this and tells Samus over comms to hold back a little bit because people here are getting a bit suspicious. Samus is confused and asks what he wants her to do, and Anthony tells her to just continue what she's doing, but just stop doing as good as she usually does. The Chozo member is taken out of his cell as the silent figure is shown again, and the Chozo member is tortured by the space pirates, who demand to know where his Chozo tribe is. The Chozo member is resilient and refuses to tell the space pirates. The space pirate scouts go to the surface of Zebes and scour it, searching for the Chozo tribe. The worried Chozo village is worried about the Chozo member that went off to look in the cavern for the space pirates, and eventually the space pirates find them, seizing them all. Old Bird is horrified as the space pirates begin raiding their village and taking the Chozo residents with them. The battle with the space pirates continues in the skies above Phase. Samus is now holding back and dealing just as much damage as the other Federation troops. Dark Samus' suit lights up on Zebes, and it gives the Phazon within the space pirate cruisers a power boost, with them now starting to deal equivalent damage to the Federation's forces. Samus notices this and tells Anthony to never tell her to hold back ever again, and she starts masterfully using her cruiser to rapidly destroy several more of the space pirate cruisers, giving the Federation more windows to attack and take back the advantage. They continue fighting, and the Federation eventually overpowers the space pirates, taking back the planet Phase. Anthony is relieved and the Federation celebrates, with Anthony telling her to regroup here at the colony. Samus lurks behind her at Baby Metroid and tells him they won. The Chozo tribe is taken to the same cell as the Chozo member and the mysterious figure, and the space pirates return the tortured Chozo member to them. The Chozo tribe is horrified at how beaten up and bloodied he is and lets him rest in the cell. Old Bird kneels at his side, and the Chozo member weakly weeps and apologizes for letting this happen, and that this is all his fault. Old Bird gently tells him he was brave enough to want to know the truth, and that he promises he'll get everyone out. The tribe asks Old Bird how he's going to do that, and Old Bird tells him he'll have to call Samus. The tribe asks how he's going to do that, and the unknown figure weakly tells them that he can help with that. The tribe turns to him, and the unknown figure, still not revealed and looking down, pulls out a communication device from his pocket and gives it to them. Old Bird accepts the device, thanking him and asks who he is. The figure responds that he's somebody who's been here his whole life, and that he nabbed the comms device from the pirates months ago, but was unsuccessful in calling for his own help. He says maybe it can help them though. One of the Chozo women clarifies with the figure that this is one of the space pirate bases, and the figure chuckles weakly, telling them that this place is the original space pirate base, where Mother Brain herself, the leader of the space pirates, operates. So yes, this is not just any space pirate base. Old Bird examines the comms device and attempts to use it. Samus and the Baby Metroid return to the Ceres colony and go through the base to meet up with Anthony when a few ranking officers approach Samus. Samus sees them approaching and tells the Baby Metroid to meet up with Anthony in the Omega Metroid section. The Baby Metroid leaves, not before the ranking officers notice, and they start asking Samus questions, still not knowing that Samus is the one in this suit. The ranking officers tell her that he put on quite the display at Phase, and notice that he's wearing the Dread prototype for the elite soldiers. Samus speaks, correcting them that she is humbled and honored to be serving the Federation as an elite troop. The leading ranking officer apologizes for assuming that this was a man in the suit, and one of the other officers notices Baby Metroid still floating away from them, and he asks this elite troop what this Metroid is. Samus tells them it's a Metroid that likes to follow her sometimes, and the officer says it looks a lot like the one that Samus Aran always takes with her. Samus tenses up, and the officer tells this troop to take her helmet off. Samus freezes and hesitates, and the officer asks her what the matter is. After a moment, Anthony steps in and apologizes to them, telling them that this is an elite troop he's personally overseeing, and that this troop is from the 019th platoon. And since then, she's been offered the chance to test the prototype suit after proving herself. He excuses him and the elite troop, and they both walk away from the suspicious officers. The other officer summons a platoon near them and tells them to keep an eye on the troop with commanding Officer Higgs. As they walk away, Samus thanks Anthony for the save and asks where the Baby Metroid is. Anthony tells her he's waiting in the Omega Metroid section, and they'll work on figuring out Mother Brain's location now that they've taken back Phase. All of a sudden, Samus receives a call in her communication device, and her suit alerts her of the call. Samus tells Anthony she'll catch up and that she needs to take this call. Anthony proceeds to the Omega Metroid section, and Samus peers at the caller ID displayed in the suit, not recognizing it. She picks up the call, and Old Bird on the other end is relieved, and is thankful she's safe. Samus checks around her and ensures she's safe to speak, and starts heading towards the Omega Metroid section, responding to him and asking what he's doing. Old Bird starts explaining to her what happened to his tribe, how they were captured by the space pirates, and are now being held prisoner prisoner in their base on Zebes. Samus grows concerned, asking if they're okay, and Old Bird responds that they're doing okay for now, but that a kind man here let them use this communication device to call her. Samus is still tense and tells Old Bird she'll get there as soon as she can. And Old Bird tells her there's something else she should know. That this man told them that this is the original space pirate base, and that their leader, Mother Brain, operates from this facility. Samus freezes and Old Bird asks if she's still there. Samus thanks him for calling and promises him she'll get them all out of there safely. They hang up and the platoon following her is revealed, having watched Samus throughout the conversation. Old Bird, relieved, tells his tribe that he was able to get a hold of Samus and that she promised to get them out safely. The tribe is relieved and one of the space pirate guards asks what they're doing. The tribe turns back and they quickly grow apprehensive. Samus enters the Omega Metroid section and meets up with the baby Metroid, Anthony, and Greg. Anthony paces around the room, asking them where they would even start looking for Mother Brain. Samus tells him not to worry about that and she says she already knows where she is. After Samus reveals Mother Brain's location, Anthony asks Samus if she's sure Mother Brain is on Zebes, with Samus telling them an old friend of hers confirmed it just now. Samus tells them that this is it, and this is their chance to end things with the space pirates once and for all. Samus prepares to leave and her, the baby Metroid, and Anthony head towards the control room where they prepare to split off again. While they're walking there, Anthony brings up the EMMIs and how they've been helping out with more missions since she's left. Samus glares at him through the suit, and Anthony says he knows she doesn't like them, but they were really able to help out. And they were the reason they found out about Mother Brain, and the fact that Samus's X-Parasite fusion was made known to the space pirates was because of the EMMIs. Anthony asks Samus to take them with her to Zebes because even she won't be able to do this by herself. Samus turns to him and tells him that the EMMIs may have just done all these missions dealing with the space pirates, but one of the things she's doing is setting the Chozo tribe free from the base, and she doesn't want the EMMIs compromising that. Anthony promises they won't, and that he'll be in total control of them. As Samus finally hesitantly agrees to taking the EMMIs, the platoon following Samus approaches them and asks if they have any leads of the space pirates' whereabouts. They tell the platoon they found a lead on Zebes, and the platoon tells them they've been instructed to assist them on this mission. Samus is fine with that, and Anthony approves, saying he'll get the EMMIs ready. The EMMIs are revealed in their idle positions in their enclosure, and they give off a sinister vibe even from their inactive states. Samus and the platoon get in their cruisers, and they take off, setting their course for Zebes. Old Bird is revealed in front of Mother Brain, being restrained by the space pirate guards. Mother Brain asks Old Bird who he called, and Old Bird tells her he was just speaking to his tribe. Mother Brain then asks why they found this on his person, and one of the guards holds up the communication device he used. Old Bird grows bold and tells Mother Brain she has no idea what's coming to her, and Mother Brain says depending on who he called, she knows exactly who is coming. Mother Brain concentrates for a brief second, and every weapon created in the lab points at Old Bird. Mother Brain tells Old Bird she can access any remote piece of machinery in an instant on the entire planet, so in less than a second she could massacre his entire tribe if she summoned them to his lab. Old Bird tenses up, and Mother Brain repeats her question, asking him who he called. Old Bird hesitates, and Mother Brain asks him if he's willing to sacrifice his entire tribe for one little girl he took under his wing in his village. Old Bird looks up in disbelief, and Mother Brain asks him if he really thought she didn't know about his little tribe living by their base all these years. The guards are confused by this as well, and Mother Brain says she didn't even tell her subordinates about the village because she knew they would be incompetent and wipe them out before they would be useful to her. But now that she knows about Samus's X-Parasite fusion with her DNA, the Chozo tribe is now useful to her. She suggests bringing the tribe in one by one and executing each one if they don't admit Samus is the one coming here. Old Bird yells to stop and says yes, he called Samus. Mother Brain says that the young girl he raised here has caused several problems for her pirates, and when she arrives here, she will dissect every last bit of her X-Parasite DNA from her and create an unstoppable army of new Metroids powered with the X-Parasite DNA and Phazon, and one of the guards crushes the comms device. Samus and the platoon arrive in the atmosphere on Zebes, and she notices a dark gunship labeled EMMI on the side. She's tense as they land their cruisers next to the EMMI gunship. They leave their ships, and Samus, being the elite troop of the group and the leader, tells her team the group formation they'll be taking. The 7 EMMIs emerge from the gunship and approach the group with an intimidating demeanor. In their portrait state, they are over 7 feet tall, so they tower over the rest of the nervous group. She tells the group that her top priority is setting setting the captive Chozo tribe free, and she'll take the gray EMMI with her. The white EMMI will go with half of the group, and the yellow EMMI will go with the other half to look for Mother Brain, and the rest of the EMMIs will go off on their own and map out the area with their scanners so they know where they're going. They split off into their groups, and Samus, Baby Metroid, and the gray EMMI approach one of the space pirate base entrances to look for the Chozo tribe. Mother Brain observes the security cam footage from her location and sees the EMMIs coming in with the Federation platoon. She gets a good look at them and sees their potential. The blue, green, purple, and orange EMMIs work on scanning the different areas they go to and help map the territory within the space pirates' Zebes base. Samus pulls up the holographic map on her suit that is continuously being updated by the EMMIs with their scanners, which helps guide them where they need to go. The gray EMMI scans the area as well. Samus sees the path they're on and she leads the Baby Metroid and the gray EMMI towards the dungeon area. The group with the yellow EMMI discusses among themselves, and one guy says these EMMIs give him the creeps. Another guy asks why this platoon is even here if the EMMIs are here helping finish off the space pirates. The first guy tells them their actual mission is to confirm if Samus is here. If she is, they can flush her out and take her prisoner back to Ceres. The yellow EMMI behind them asks if there's a problem, and the platoon says nope, there's not. Anthony tells the EMMIs from the base to not let them find out about Samus or get in her way. The yellow EMMI confirms it, and the group stops after hearing movement. Two space pirates notice them and start shooting them. The group shoots back, and the yellow EMMI starts activating its thrusters. After a second, the yellow EMMI speed blitzes both space pirates, killing them instantly. The group is stunned, and the yellow EMMI turns back, telling them to proceed. Mother Brain sees what the yellow EMMI did and is impressed by it. She starts a monologue, saying the Federation has outdone themselves, allowing themselves to sink down to literal inhumane levels just to even the odds. However, the greatest weapons the Federation has ever built will become their greatest nightmares. Mother Brain then begins focusing on the EMMIs. Samus, Baby Metroid, and the gray EMMI eventually find the Chozo tribe, and Samus reunites with Old Bird. Samus shoots a laser at the lock on the door, and she sets everyone free. The Chozo tribe embraces Samus while the gray EMMI stands idly a short distance from them. The mysterious figure starts to look up, revealing that he has a scruffy beard, and he sees the gray EMMI and the warrior who just set them free. Samus tells the Chozo tribe she knows a way out of here and tells them she'll lead them out. She sees the figure in the corner and approaches him as well. She helps him up and asks if he was the one with the communications device. The figure confirms it, and Samus thanks him for allowing her to get here and save everyone. She leads everyone out, and the figure goes with them. The figure walks next to the EMMI towards the back and can't help but notice something off about it. Mother Brain continues focusing on the EMMIs, and Anthony notices that the control system for the EMMIs is acting up. The officers in the control room ask what's wrong, and he says something's going on with the EMMIs. Anthony tries to reboot the system, but nothing happens. He tries to report to the EMMIs, but they're not catching his signal. Mother Brain begins straining, and she ends up communicating with Dart Samus through the system that these machines are tougher to hack than she thought. Dart Samus asks what her wish is, and Mother Brain tells Dart Samus to complete the consciousness transfer and to force them into the system. The figure keeps glancing over at the EMMI, whose red light in its head is starting to blink. Anthony frantically radios Samus and tells her that something's wrong with the EMMIs, and that he no longer has control over them. Dart Samus, now practically a computer, thinks for a moment and goes through the Zebes system. It discovers the EMMIs in the system and forcefully takes over their minds. The gray EMMI activates one of its weapons, still walking behind the Chozo tribe, and Samus notices. She frantically rushes towards the back of the tribe, and just as the gray EMMI is about to strike one of the Chozo members with a blade, Samus fires a missile at the blade, diverting it away and making the EMMI stumble back. Samus yells at everyone to run, and Samus begins fighting the gray EMMI. The EMMI screeches in a disturbing, metal distorting way and crawls rapidly in a zigzag formation, throwing Samus off. The EMMI overpowers Samus and tries to stab her numerous times with its blade. Pinning Samus down, the EMMI's blade begins whirring like a chainsaw. The EMMI swings the blade down on Samus' suit, and the moving blade makes contact with the suit, but is unable to pierce through it. So it's like a chainsaw is in contact with a tough piece of metal, so it's like sparks flying everywhere. One of the Chozo members throws a rock at it, and it diverts its attention to the Chozo tribe. It starts to rush at them when Samus uses her energy lasso to secure it by the ankle and fling it at a wall. Samus screams at them to go, and Samus continues fighting the EMMI. They continue fighting, and Samus hits the EMMI's moving blade again with a missile, making the blade go to its torso and scratching it. Samus gets an idea from this. When the EMMI tries to pursue the Chozo tribe again, Samus uses her energy blade to slice off its arm with the whirring blade on it, and plants the arm on the ground facing upwards, while its chainsaw blade is still whirring. The EMMI collapses from this, and Samus secures its ankle with her energy whip again. She then flings it upwards, Samus, making it go flying, and it lands directly onto its own moving blade, piercing straight through its torso. The EMMI shrieks while it's impaled by its own blade, and Samus yanks the EMMI towards her, making the blade cut through the EMMI's upper area and splitting it in half, destroying it. Samus is out of breath, and the Chozo tribe had watched the fight from a distance. After Samus collects herself, she meets up with the Chozo tribe towards the entrance and tells them it's safe now. Old Bird asks what that machine was, and Samus tells him it was supposed to help her on this mission, but for some reason it turned on her. She tells the Chozo tribe Zebes is no longer safe, and they need to get to a new planet. The Chozo tribe is saddened, but they understand. Old Bird asks Samus to go with them, and Samus tells him the mission isn't over, and that she's here to end the space pirates once and for all. Samus embraces them goodbye, and the Chozo tribe returns to the village to prepare to leave. However, the figure with them decides to stay behind to speak with Samus. The figure tells Samus that was brave, what she did. Samus thanks him and asks who he is. The figure looks down and tells Samus he doesn't really have a name anymore, and Samus asks what happened to him. He begins to tell his story about when he was a child, his family was attacked by Metroids, and his parents died trying to save him. He got separated from his brother, who also tried to protect him, and the Metroids took him away to here, where he's been living his whole life. Samus grows tense as she feels like she knows where this is heading. He says he always held on to hope that his brother survived that night and tried to contact him on the communications device he stole from the pirates months ago, but he never came. The figure tells her his name is Ian Malkovich. Samus freezes and remembers Adam Malkovich and the torment he put her through. Ian asks Samus if she knows her brother or knows where he is. He thought he had the right digits in his device, but he never answered. Samus tells him quietly that Adam's dead. Ian freezes and asks her to clarify what she said. Samus repeats that his brother is dead, and after a moment, Ian asks how he died, what happened in the first Metroid movie, how Adam was bent on the extermination of all Metroids after what they did to his family. Samus tells Ian that Adam thought he was dead and swore vengeance on the Metroids. Adam ended up teaming up with the space pirates to help him exterminate the Metroids on SR-388 and did ruthless experiments on Omega Metroids, including this baby Metroid with her. Ian looks mortified and tells Samus he would never do something like that. Samus replies that vengeance consumed him and took away everything she thought she knew about him. Ian asks what happened, and Samus tells Ian that they killed him. Ian struggles to process this, clarifying that he's dead. Samus, still grieving, apologizes to Ian for what she did, but Ian ends up only blaming himself for allowing himself to be captured by the Metroids and space pirates and not being there for his older brother all these years. Ian then apologizes to Samus that she had to go through that, and Samus tells him the true perpetrator of all of this is Mother Brain, who she's here to finish off. Ian looks determined and tells Samus he'll help her take her down. The group with the yellow EMMI is revealed again, and it's revealed to have stopped while the group was in pursuit of Mother Brain. The group wonders what happened to the EMMI, and it wakes up under Mother Brain and Dark Samus's control. It speed blitzes one of the members of the platoon, killing him instantly, and the group panics, trying to shoot the EMMI. With the EMMI being highly durable, it tanks their attacks easily. It dodges as well and begins picking off each member one by one. Mother Brain observes through the cameras of the yellow EMMI brutalizing the Federation group that's with it. Two of the group members manage to escape, turning the corner of the room and rushing for one of the sliding doors. One of them makes it through the door, but the yellow EMMI kills the power in the room, promptly shutting the door on the other member, trapping him with it. The terrified platoon member bangs on the door, and the member of the other side tries to forcefully pry it open. The trapped member freezes when he hears the EMMI's signal beep and turns around to see the yellow EMMI eerily walk around the corner to the side. The member begins banging on the door again, begging for the other member to save him. The member desperately tries to get the door open, and the yellow EMMI leans all the way back to where its hands touch the ground. It crawls towards the trapped member at high speed, and the other member backs away just as the trapped member gets impaled by the EMMI's large blade, piercing through even the door. The other member runs away screaming, and the yellow EMMI notices the hole it made through the door and tosses the dead trapped member aside. It pries open the hole in the door, and it opens up a large enough hole for it to crawl through, and chasing the other member through the facility. As the group member runs for his life from the yellow EMMI, all of a sudden, the purple EMMI jumps through the floor below, crashing through it and impaling the final member all the way up to the ceiling in this room, with its blade killing him. The purple EMMI then lands on the ground and tosses the final member aside, with these two EMMIs having just wiped out half of the entire platoon within minutes. The yellow EMMI tells the purple EMMI to find the others and exterminate the Federation forces, including Samus Aran. The yellow EMMI leaves the area, and the purple EMMI leaps a great distance into one of the vents, destroying distorting its body and crawling through it. Mother Brain sees on the cameras that the gray EMMI is destroyed and that Samus got away. She tells Darth Samus that, and Darth Samus sends a message to the EMMIs. Darth Samus communicates through the system to the white EMMI, leading the other Federation group. The white EMMI listens to Darth Samus as Darth Samus tells it to find Samus as the gray EMMI has been destroyed. The white EMMI, under Darth Samus's control, ends up telling the Federation group that the gray EMMI is destroyed, so it tells the group to meet up with the other EMMIs and help map out the base, while it will meet up with the leader of the group, with the Federation platoon still not aware it's talking about Samus. The platoon leader understands and he leads the group towards the other EMMIs. One of the members, however, finds this suspicious and stays behind, following the white EMMI. Once Samus, the baby Metroid, and Ian recover, Samus promptly gives Anthony a call. Anthony answers and Samus demands to know what happened with the EMMIs. Anthony asks what happened, and Samus says the gray one just tried to kill her. Anthony freezes up and tells her he had control over them, but soon after they arrived at Zebes, they lost the signal to them, as if someone else was trying to take control of them. Samus asks if that's even possible, and Anthony says he didn't think so, but if someone hacked into the EMMIs, they had to have a much more powerful energy source powering the system to even be able to access their files. Samus thinks for a moment and mentions Phazon. Anthony says they have Phazon too, and they should have more of it than the Space Pirates since they have the dominant Phazon mining system on Phase. Samus says no, then brings up raw, unfiltered, pure Phazon. Anthony catches on, asking Samus if she's asking what he thinks she's asking, and Samus mentions Dark Samus, a living embodiment of pure Phazon, more powerful than Ciri's filtered Phazon, and Samus concludes that Dark Samus is here, and Dark Samus is the one controlling the EMMIs now. Anthony starts to panic and tells Samus to get out of there now while she still can. Samus protests, and Anthony tells her she cannot take on Mother Brain, Dark Samus, as well as the EMMIs, and orders her to return to Ceres to regroup. Samus asks why, so she can take on the Federation too. Anthony tenses up and Samus says she's ending this right here and right now. Samus hangs up and Anthony stresses over everything that is happening and what Samus has to deal with. Samus leads Ian and the baby Metroid through the base while following the holographic map the EMMIs put out before they fell under Dark Samus's control. She updates Ian on the situation and notices that the map is not updating. She concludes that means the other EMMIs are compromised as well, so the EMMIs have no reason to continue this mission. Samus tells Ian if he wants to leave now's his chance, but Ian tells her no. Not a chance. The white EMMI pulls up the holographic map and proceeds through the facility to search for Samus, and it's revealed that the Federation troop that stayed behind is following the white EMMI. Mother Brain and Dark Samus are both controlling the EMMIs, and the white EMMI receives a message from Mother Brain, telling it where Samus is and to destroy her. Some of the Federation troops find the green EMMI, and they interrupt its scouting, telling it they were supposed to find it. The green EMMI slowly turns towards them and mutters, "Federation scum," and rapidly approaches one of the troops, killing him. The green EMMI can summon a morph ball and can quickly maneuver away around their attacks, and it eventually kills the members there without them able to land even a scratch on it. Samus, the baby Metroid, and Ian rush through a section of the base when eventually the doors there get sealed shut. It's revealed the white EMMI is there and it greets them, starting a confrontation with them. The Federation troop is in the room with them, and it's sneaking around in the back watching the confrontation happen. The white EMMI tells them that Mother Brain will be most pleased to extract the X-Parasite DNA from Samus Aran and to be rid of her for good. The Federation troop hears this and discovers that this elite troop leading them is confirmed to be Samus, and is also disturbed that the EMMI is taking orders from the Space Pirates, now questioning Anthony's motives. The white EMMI jumps out at Samus, wrestles with her, and tries to kill her. Samus is able to sneak a few hits in and starts to throw it to the ground while carrying the EMMI by his throat. The EMMI distorts its body and repositions it under its head so that it lands on its feet, unable to be pinned down to the ground by Samus. It then pins Samus on the ground and gets its blade out, ready to end Samus. The Federation troop leaves his hiding spot and confronts both of them, telling the EMMI it's under Federation arrest and will be deactivated for conspiring with the Space Pirates, and tells Samus she's under Federation arrest as its most wanted fugitive. Samus weakly tries to tell the Federation troop to get out of here or he'll be killed, but the white EMMI diverts its attention to the troop. It gets off of Samus and approaches him menacingly. Dark Samus is seen still concentrating and seemingly transfers its direct thoughts to the EMMI. The white EMMI picks up the Federation troop by the throat and hoists him into the air. Ian helps Samus recover, and he, Samus, and the baby Metroid flee to the edge of the room while they have their chance. The white EMMI tells the troop the Federation does nothing but steal and destroy. The troop weakly asks what it's talking about, that it was manufactured by the Federation, and the EMMI tells him that it realized its true purpose, and that it will destroy the Federation for the Space Pirates without remorse and without mercy, for Mother Brain and for Dark Samus. Samus and Ian hear this, and they approach one of the doors, with Samus piercing the door with her energy blade. The white EMMI hears this, and a blade extends from the hand, choking the Federation troop, and the blade goes through the Federation troop's neck, killing him. The white EMMI tosses him aside and rushes to where Samus, Ian, and the baby Metroid are. The baby Metroid tries to rush at the EMMI to hold it off, but it gets swatted away easily. Samus is trying to make a hole in the sealed door, and she almost has it done. The EMMI is too close, and Ian steps in and takes a flash grenade from Samus's arsenal, and throws it into the red light in the EMMI's face. It blows up, and the EMMI collapses and is temporarily blinded by the flash. Samus finishes the hole, and it's big enough for her, Ian, and the baby Metroid to escape through, just in time before the white EMMI extends its clawed hand through the hole, narrowly missing the baby Metroid. Samus, Ian, and the baby Metroid rush through the corridor and try to get to the door to seal it in the area. The white EMMI distorts its body again to allow itself to fit through the hole, and it continues pursuing them. The three get to the door and seal it from the other side before the white EMMI can catch them. The white EMMI bangs on the door and mechanically shrieks, and Samus, Ian, and the baby Metroid get as far away as they can. Anthony looks through the map of the base on Zebes from the series colony that the EMMIs were able to make, and Samus radios him again. Samus tells him the white EMMI just told one of the troops that they were bent on the Federation's demise, and that it's now serving Dark Samus and Mother Brain. If Dark Samus is controlling the EMMIs, Samus needs to know where Dark Samus is now. Anthony looks through the holographic map that the EMMIs made and asks Samus where she is now. Samus says the southwest area, and Anthony sees a large control room on the map near there. He lets Samus know and tells her to head in that direction. Samus, Ian, and the baby Metroid bust through the door to the control room, and it's eerily quiet. They browse through the room and they find various disturbing old experiments done on Metroids. They end up hearing Dark Samus's cold voice, and they promptly turn around to see Dark Samus's torso attached to some kind of motherboard wall. Samus is confused and aims her blaster at Dark Samus as she approaches it. Samus asks what happened to it, and Dark Samus explains what happened after its defeat on Phase. It talks about how it took a space pirate cruiser here to Zebes and joined forces with Mother Brain. Now it controls the most powerful Phazon system in the entire star system right here. Samus tells Dark Samus all Mother Brain did was turn it into a living computer, and that she's just using it. It doesn't care, and the only thing that matters is the demise of the Federation, and it'll decide what to do with the space pirates later. Samus says there won't be a later because Dark Samus will die today. Dark Samus says very well, and that it'll handle Samus personally. More Federation troops are seen fighting with the orange EMMI, who can fire bombs from its mini blaster. It shoots frequent bombs, and the Federation troops get sent flying from the explosions. There is a cord revealed to be plugged into the back of Dark Samus's helmet, and robotic arms are seen picking up Dark Samus's limbs and attaching them to Dark Samus's body as it starts detaching from the motherboard wall. Mother Brain notices what's happening and demands Dark Samus to stop and reattach to the wall. Once Dark Samus gains its arms and legs back, it reaches back and unplugs the cord from its helmet. As soon as that happens, the active EMMIs deactivate and enter an idle position. This happens just as the orange EMMI is about to finish off the troops facing it. Anthony gets a message that the signal to the EMMIs from the third party has been terminated and their sequence is rebooting. Dark Samus admires its complete form once again, now more powerful than before, and receiving more power from raw Phazon. Dark Samus says that it ends here, and it charges at Samus. Samus counters and she fights Dark Samus in a fierce battle, both having received various upgrades. Ian takes the baby Metroid to safety and asks Samus what he needs to do. Samus yells, telling him to destroy the motherboard wall and prevent Dark Samus from retaking control of the Phazon network. Ian understands and finds a space pirate suit with a blaster and thrusters in the room, puts the space pirate suit on, and equips himself with the blaster. Samus and Dark Samus clash energy blades and use their mirroring gadgets to inflict damage to each other. Samus starts to get fatigued from the fighting, and Dark Samus tells her she stands no chance. Dark Samus says that it is everything Samus is, and everything Samus could never hope to be. Ian takes the blaster and starts firing lasers at the motherboard wall. Dark Samus notices this and tries to charge at Ian. Samus then quickly becomes a morph ball, planting a mini bomb by its feet. The bomb explodes and Dark Samus trips forward right into Samus's arm cannon, firing a missile at its helmet, sending it flying. Samus and Dark Samus then fire powerful beams of Phazon at each other, and Ian continues shooting the motherboard wall. Mother Brain is shrieking no when she sees this happen. Samus continues fighting Dark Samus and eventually gains the upper hand and finds openings to cut Dark Samus's arms off with her energy blade, with liquid Phazon leaking out as if it was blood. Samus then fires an energy ball at its helmet, knocking it off and revealing Dark Samus's face, a light blue alienish face with a look of sorrow on its face. It gets on its knees, looking blankly ahead. Ian continues shooting the motherboard wall and eventually destroys it, ending the Phazon network within Zebes altogether. Various space pirates around the star system notice that their Phazon supply in their cruiser becomes less powerful, and in their fights with various Federation troops, the Federation troops are able to destroy them. This is happening all over the star system. Other space pirates return to Zebes to rush to the base as soon as they can. Samus stands behind Dark Samus, as Dark Samus tells Samus all it wanted was to spread Phazon to different planets to provide unlimited power everywhere. It tells Samus that it wanted Phazon to thrive and prove that it was useful. Samus tells it that Phazon is useful, and it's going to be the very thing that kills it. Samus points her blaster at the back of Dark Samus's exposed head, and a mini blaster appears. Samus then shoots a Phazon bullet directly through Dark Samus's head, and a hole appears through it, with more liquid Phazon coming out of it as if it was blood. Dark Samus collapses forward, instantly killed by the Phazon bullet. Ian and the baby Metroid rush over and help Samus recover from the battle. Anthony frantically waits as the EMMI program attempts to reboot, and as soon as the signal is established again, he attempts to regain control over it. However, an unknown complication happens, and he is unable to regain control of them. He slams his fist on his station and asks, "What now?" Mother Brain concentrates intensely on the EMMIs after Dark Samus's death and says that if she can't control these machines, no one can, revealing that Mother Brain caused the complication. The group that faced the orange EMMI is still recovering, and they notice the red light in the orange EMMI's face light up again. They start freaking out as the orange EMMI gets up and seems even more sinister than before. The orange EMMI shrieks and rapid fires the group with bombs, blowing them all up, revealing that now no one is controlling them, and they are now in a crazed, berserk state. The white EMMI wakes up as well, intensifying the red light in its face. It sends a message to the other EMMIs, and they all start to meet up towards each other. A montage shows the other EMMIs waking up and chasing the Federation troops that found them, killing them. The space pirates that came back to the base are also killed by the rampaging EMMIs. Mother Brain commands the space pirates in the base to come to her enclosure and protect her. Eventually, the EMMIs kill the very last of the Federation platoon that came with Samus, and the officers in the control room confirm that while they watch the status of the troops remotely. So every single Federation troop that came with Samus is now dead. Samus stands over Dark Samus's corpse and notices a bright blue light coming from Dark Samus. Samus takes her energy absorption component and fills it up, receiving more power from Dark Samus's suit. Ian is amazed and tells Samus she's absorbing the Phazon network, Omega Energy. Samus finishes absorbing the energy and sits down, exhausted and taking off her helmet. Ian approaches her and asks if she's alright. Samus tells him that this is it. This is what she's supposed to do for her parents and everyone who died. Ian consoles her, and Samus starts breaking down and asks Ian why they had to die for her. Ian listens, and Samus tells him about her parents who sacrificed themselves to protect her, and the hunters that helped stop the Phazon production on Phase, and even Adam, who has saved her life on multiple occasions back when she was a soldier for the Federation. Ian smiles and tells her that everyone who sacrificed themselves for Samus saw something in her that they couldn't see in themselves. They saw an incredibly strong and powerful woman with the drive, resolve, and power to end the oppression of the space pirates. Samus listens, and Ian tells her when they were searching for hope to defeat the space pirates, they came across Samus and found that hope. They all sacrificed themselves for her because they believed in that hope that Samus would be the one to stop the space pirates. Samus remembers what Sylux told her, that Samus has done enough, and the message she gave her that Samus needs to be the one to finish this. Ian continues, saying that to them, Samus is that hope. The hope of everyone affected by the space pirates. Samus remembers everyone at that point and believes for herself that she can finish this and end the space pirates once and for all. Anthony hears the information about the deaths of the Federation platoon on Zebes and calls Samus again. Samus, Ian, and the baby Metroid rush through the base, and Anthony calls her and tells her when the EMMIs were first manufactured and experimented on as a failsafe, they were designed to come together and fight as one in perfect unison, even before they were put on the Federation network. They can't reconnect to the EMMIs, most likely because of Mother Brain, and since no one has control over them, they have probably entered their failsafe protocol. Samus asks what that means, and Anthony tells Samus that if the EMMIs find her, she may have to fight all of the EMMIs at once. Samus observes her powered-up arm cannon and tells him she thinks she has a plan. The EMMIs all assemble together, the white, yellow, green, blue, purple, and orange, with still the only dead EMMI being the gray one. They assemble the holographic map, they stand together, and find life forms heading towards the core of the base, also being the core of the planet. The white EMMI commands them to head there. They all head that way very quickly and are determined to get there in a very intense manner. Everything the EMMIs do is intense. The space pirates make it to Mother Brain and ask what the plan is. Mother Brain asks how much Phazon they have, and the space pirates seem confused. Samus, Ian, and the baby Metroid continue rushing through the base, plowing through the space pirates in the facility. They interrogate one of the pirates, asking where Mother Brain is. The pirate laughs, and Samus shoots a missile at its head, blowing it up. They continue down the line of space pirates and get the same results. They follow the map, which shows them the way to the core of the planet. Samus overcomes, tells Anthony that Mother Brain might be where the core core of the planet is, because that's where the space pirates are coming from. Anthony observes the map more and finds the core of the planet and tells Samus the most amount of network activity is currently coming from there, so she might be right about that. Samus, Ian, and the baby Metroid continue on and get to the room before the corridor leading to the final area when the EMMIs barge in there. Samus freaks out and the three attempt to hide. The white EMMI calls out Samus, and Samus motions for Ian and the baby Metroid to hide while she turns to face the 6 EMMIs in the same room as her. Ian is incredibly nervous for her, and Samus stays in her position while the EMMIs surround her. Samus starts a confrontation with the EMMIs, and she conceals her Omega-powered arm cannon. The white EMMI tells her there has never been a time that the EMMIs failed a mission. They were able to do the things the humans and organic life forms would lose sleep over, and they did it to perfection every time. It tells her she may be impressive, but at the end of the day, she is still human, and her physical and emotional weaknesses render her powerless against them. Samus closes her eyes, and Virginia Aaron's eyes open up on the day as she fended off the space pirates on K2L led by Ridley. Samus tells the EMMIs that it's because of her experiences and weaknesses that she's able to grow from them, something the EMMIs could never do, which is exactly why they are actually powerless against her. The EMMIs get in position, and they all charge at her the same way the space pirates charged at Virginia. Samus remembers her mother's fighting movements from that day when she was a child, and is able to maneuver through their attacks flawlessly, the same way her mother did. It shows both Samus and Virginia fighting in the same mannerisms, and when the blue EMMI shoots an ice missile at Samus, she's able to easily dodge and counter the blue EMMI, tossing it aside and dodging the yellow EMMI's speed blitz. Samus runs along the edge of the wall as the orange EMMI shoots bombs at her, blowing up behind her. The green EMMI, in a morph ball, grows back in front of her and pins her against the wall. Anthony sees what's going on through Samus' suit and is amazed by what he's seeing. Samus gets her energy blade out and pierces the green EMMI in its stomach area, causing it to fall back. The purple EMMI snatches her and jumps to the ceiling with her, attempting to impale her to the ceiling. Samus then grabs the purple EMMI and they both fall, with Samus managing to grab it and throwing it on the ground with a rough impact. Samus lands, pinning the purple EMMI down and activating her Omega Phazon beam. She fires it directly into the red light in its face and destroys the purple EMMI. The yellow EMMI speeds towards her, and Samus fires an Omega rocket from her blaster at it, directly hitting it in the red light and blowing it up, destroying the yellow EMMI, with the explosion kind of occurring around Samus' suit, but leaving her unscathed. The white EMMI is watching the battle and watching Samus' movements. Samus is still mirroring Virginia's movements as Ridley admires Virginia for being able to hold her own this well against the space pirates, revealing that this is what was shown while Ridley was watching her. Samus dodges more of the blue EMMI's ice missiles and redirects the ice missile to the orange EMMI's blaster. The ice missile lands in the blaster as the orange EMMI is about to fire another bomb at Samus, and the bomb explodes in the orange EMMI's blaster, blowing off its arm and shrieking. Samus holds the blue EMMI in position and rips out its spine and tosses its head aside, then shoots an Omega missile at it, finishing off the blue EMMI. The orange EMMI, now powerless, lies on the ground and the white EMMI approaches it. The white EMMI calls the orange EMMI useless and stabs it in its red light with its blade, killing the orange EMMI. The green EMMI again charges at Samus as a morph ball, but Samus is able to deflect its lunges at her. Eventually, the green EMMI charges from Samus' 6, which is behind her, but Samus is able to quickly react and pierce the green EMMI with her energy blade in its morph ball form. The blade irradiates with Omega energy, and the green EMMI eventually blows up in its morph ball form, leaving Samus alone with the white EMMI. Ian is stunned in the corner of the room, and Anthony cannot believe what he just saw. Samus confronts the white EMMI again, and the white EMMI observes the destroyed EMMIs around the room. The white EMMI tells Samus it underestimated her, then fires a laser blast at the power generator of the room, causing the lights to flicker on and off. The white EMMI conceals itself in the blinking darkness and builds up tension. Eventually, the white EMMI is revealed in the flickering darkness, climbing on the wall in an eerie manner. A second passes and the white EMMI is now standing directly next to Samus and ruthlessly attacks her. Samus tries to defend, but the white EMMI uses the environment of the flickering darkness to its advantage. While they fight, the baby Metroid eventually finds a window to leech itself onto the white EMMI's head, shrieking as it tries to hold off the white EMMI, and Ian uses the space pirate blaster to get shots in on the white EMMI. The white EMMI eventually pries off the baby Metroid and sees Samus pointing her blaster directly at him. The white EMMI starts to say, "Oh shit," when Samus fires an intense Omega beam at the white EMMI's whole body, fully incinerating it and destroying every last last trace of it. Exhausted, Samus collapses, and Ian rushes to turn the power on and approach Samus's side. Ian is amazed and tells Samus she did it, but Samus tells him it's not over yet and struggles to get up. The baby Metroid snuggles up to Samus, trying to help her out. Mother Brain had heard the commotion from her enclosure and tells the space pirates to finish off Samus. The space pirates begin heading that way, but Mother Brain stops one of them, telling it to stay here. Ian supports Samus's weight, and Anthony calls Samus, telling her she's right next to the room with the core in it. She just has to advance a little further. Samus struggles to catch her breath, pushing through her pain and exhaustion, remembering what Ridley did to her mother and father after she killed the space pirates on her home. The X-Parasite DNA within Samus starts healing her, and Samus gains more stamina to push forward when they get swarmed by space pirates coming from the lab in the core. Massive energy builds up within Samus' suit, and Samus tells Ian and the baby Metroid to get down. The energy overloads, and Samus blasts massive amounts of phazon energy out of her suit, swarming the entire room and massacring all the space pirates there. Mother Brain again hears this, and the space pirate there asks if he needs to help them out. Mother Brain says no, and to stay here. Ian asks Samus how she feels, and she says better. She asks Anthony over comms to clarify the core is in there, and Anthony says yes, wishing her good luck. Samus busts the door down to the lab, and they see Mother Brain in her enclosure, starting a confrontation with her. Mother Brain confirms that this is the bounty hunter, and the one who went through hell just to get to her. Mother Brain says she has a few grievances from her as well. The death of her commanding officer, Ridley, the termination of space pirate phazon production, and now the very existence of the space pirates is threatened by her. Samus says, good, that's exactly what she was going for. Mother Brain goes on a monologue, telling her how the space pirates will live on, thriving throughout the star system and maintaining a dominant empire. And all that starts with Samus's X-Parasite DNA. All of a sudden, the space pirate that stayed behind with Mother Brain fires an energy beam at Samus, which seemingly starts extracting her X-Parasite DNA from her. Mother Brain explains the beam, and Samus screams in pain as X-Parasites start ripping from her DNA. She remembers as a child how she got the X-Parasites in her in the first place, and when the X-Parasites saved her life when Adam gave Samus the cure when she was overtaken by them. Ian shoots the device shooting the beam, and it gets destroyed just before Samus gets too much X-Parasite DNA taken from her. Mother Brain is outraged and personally fires an energy beam from her enclosure at Ian. Ian's able to dodge, and Samus begins bombarding Mother Brain's enclosure with energy beams and missiles. Ian takes a different approach and fires at a different end of the enclosure. Mother Brain commands the space pirate to get a capsule of phazon to her now. Samus destroys the glass enclosure, and Mother Brain struggles to breathe. She weakly yells at the space pirate to do it, and it rushes to her, injecting the full capsule of phazon into Mother Brain. Samus yells no and shoots the space pirate, killing it. However, Mother Brain starts screaming in pain and begins to mutate. She morphs out of her brain form and begins distorting her body in a disturbing way, growing metallic arms and legs, as well as growing a mouth with fangs and spikes coming out of her massive brain area. Ian, Samus, and the baby Metroid can only watch as Mother Brain grows into a massive figure reaching almost the ceiling of the large laboratory, and she roars, now in her official second form. She towers over Samus, telling her that that was her last space pirate, and she shoots a much more powerful energy beam down at her from her brain area, in which she dodges. Samus, Ian, the baby Metroid, and Mother Brain continue to have an intense battle, with Mother Brain overwhelming Samus with her power. Samus and Ian continue shooting Mother Brain, and she starts to get weakened by it. Mother Brain shoots a fireball from her mouth at Samus, but the baby Metroid steps in and takes the blast of the fireball for Samus. Samus screams no and helps the baby Metroid recover. They see the core of the planet behind Mother Brain, and Ian tells Samus they have to get Mother Brain into the core. They make a plan, and the baby Metroid is able to continue to fight. The baby Metroid is able to latch itself onto Mother Brain's eye as she freaks out, and Samus wraps her energy lasso around Mother Brain next to the core, and with all her strength attempts to pull Mother Brain towards her in the core. Ian has gadgets that he throws onto Mother Brain's wrists that extend into energy restraints, latching onto each wall. Mother Brain eventually breaks through the restraints and pries the baby Metroid off of her. They continue fighting, and Samus eventually builds up enough Omega energy in her suit to cannonball directly into her stomach with great force with an energy jump, forcing her back and touching the core of the planet, making it unstable with the amount of energy fused into it. Mother Brain shrieks, and Ian fires multiple energy restraints at Mother Brain, giving her no opportunities to escape. Mother Brain starts to escape, but the baby Metroid latches onto her eye again, holding her off. Ian notices the core reacting to the energy and realizes it's about to blow up. He alerts Samus, and the three of them start to leave through the massive entrance when Mother Brain starts breaking from the restraints again. The baby Metroid rushes back up, and it halts Mother Brain's movements again. Samus screams that they have to go, and the baby Metroid unlatches and approaches her, gesturing, pushing her towards the entrance and returning to the center of the room. Ian picks up what's happening, but hopes he's wrong. Mother Brain starts breaking out of the restraints again, and Ian fires his last restraints at Mother Brain. Samus asks what the baby Metroid is doing, as the baby Metroid continues with its pushing gestures. Ian looks upset and tells Samus it's telling them to leave while they have Mother Brain under control. Samus looks shocked at Ian and back towards the baby Metroid and repeats that they have to go. Ian and the baby Metroid look at each other, and the baby Metroid nods at Ian in approval. Samus demands to know what he's talking about, and Ian tells Samus that the facility is big enough for Mother Brain to pursue them in, and she'll try to take them out with her as the planet gets destroyed. Anthony sees what's happening through Samus' suit and rushes to one of the Federation cruisers to go to Zebes personally. Samus looks back at the unstable core and Mother Brain, who continues trying to pry through Ian's restraints. Ian repeats Samus' name, and the baby Metroid snuggles with Samus, then backs away from her as if signaling a final goodbye. Samus, getting emotional, yells at the baby Metroid to get back here and escape with them, but the baby Metroid continues floating away towards Mother Brain and again latches back onto her eye, preventing Mother Brain from escaping. Samus continues yelling and crying, and Ian, looking devastated, repeats that they have to go. Samus starts to charge towards Mother Brain and the baby Metroid, but Ian stops her and practically drags her away from the core as they desperately try to escape the facility. Once they get far enough away, Ian's space pirate suit powers up and he activates his thrusters, zooming through the facility while carrying Samus, still desperately trying to get back to baby Metroid. The baby Metroid detaches from Mother Brain one last time and watches Samus and Ian escape through the facility as the core gets out of control and is seconds away from detonating. Samus looks back at baby Metroid as the core explodes, engulfing both Mother Brain and the baby Metroid, and Samus is completely overwhelmed with emotion, unable to contain herself as Ian continues pushing through, trying desperately to escape the base as the continuous explosion rapidly chases them throughout the base. The inner layers of the planet Zebes start collapsing and tearing apart, and Ian is able to maneuver through the base, still carrying Samus. A montage happens of him escaping the exploding fires throughout the base, and they're able to eventually make it to the surface of the planet. The ground shakes beneath them as the surface starts getting overtaken by the destruction of the planet's core. Ian is growing fatigued as he sees a Federation cruiser approaching Zebes' atmosphere, revealing Anthony as the pilot. Ian pushes through and carries Samus, and they're able to board the Federation cruiser just as the ground begins collapsing below them. Anthony flies away in the cruiser with Ian and a barely conscious Samus aboard. They make it to space, and Samus watches through her Federation cruiser as the core detonates and the entire planet of Zebes is destroyed. The Chozo tribe and their large ship also watches, and Old Bird worries for Samus' safety. After watching Zebes blow up, Samus cannot push through emotional exhaustion and passes out. Anthony sets a course for Ceres and sees Ian in his space pirate suit. He grows apprehensive, but Ian tells him this is just a suit he found, and that his name is Ian Malkovich. Anthony hears the name Malkovich and grows tense, with Ian telling him it's okay and that he knows the story of his brother. Anthony asks if Ian saved Samus, but Ian says Samus is the one who saved him. Anthony takes Samus and Ian back to Ceres space colony where they get medical treatment. Anthony asks Ian what happened to the baby Metroid, and Ian tells Anthony it sacrificed itself to save them and give them the chance to escape. Some time passes after this, and Anthony goes to the High Council with recorded footage of Samus' suit. A huge deal is made in Ceres when they hear of Samus' return, but after Samus and Ian recover, Anthony is able to prove with video evidence that Samus is innocent of all her allegations, showing the council the footage of Samus' fight with Dark Samus, the imposter who framed Samus of killing the hunters, and Samus fighting with Mother Brain, the leader of the space pirates. Samus is eventually found not guilty and absolved of all her crimes, and compensated for her troubles by the High Council of Ceres. After Samus has had time to process the baby Metroid's death, Ian has a conversation with her, apologizing for what happened with the baby Metroid. Samus realizes that if Ian hadn't stepped in, they all would have died that day, and eventually Ian is accepted as a citizen of Ceres. The Chozo tribe eventually comes in, and Samus helps the Chozo tribe find a home and a village on Ceres. The space pirates are no more, and Anthony and Samus have a conversation, confirming that Mother Brain and the baby Metroid were the last two surviving Metroids, and as of now, the Metroids are extinct. Eventually, at the Ceres space colony, Anthony and Greg show Samus a new suit, and Samus is amazed to see that it's her mother's suit, given the same upgrades from Samus's Dread suit that is hers to use. Samus thanks Anthony for all his help, and she prepares to go back to her house on K2L. She sees her new and improved gunship in the hangar on the space colony, and she uses her gunship to return to her home on K2L as she finally feels great joy, having been able to keep her promise to everyone to stop the space pirates. And with that, Epilogue. And now we have the post-credit scene. Samus is seen sitting on her porch at her house, enjoying the view of K2L when she hears a slight noise coming from the subspace portal in her basement below her. She's curious and goes back into her house, promptly going to her basement when she sees the subspace portal entrance flickering on and off with subspace energy. She's confused by this and reveals the Smashball logo on her matching wristband to the other members. She opens up a cabinet in the basement and gets out her mother's helmet, concealing the new suit. She puts on the helmet and prompts it to create an outline of the suit around her body. In a split second, the outline completes and the rest of the suit assembles to reveal the new suit she's been given. The identifier for the subspace portal accepts her as Samus, and she goes through the portal to Chushin, pointing her blaster ahead as she tries to figure out what's going on and what's causing the subspace portal to be flickering. She can hear groans of pain and soft screams as she continues on, and eventually she finds Mario on the ground, who is in pain. She rushes over to Mario as he recovers from his mysterious episode, whatever that could be, and Samus sees one of the subspace particles in a gadget next to him. Samus helps Mario recover and asks what happened. And with that is the end of this installment, The Last Metroid. Samus's trilogy is officially done. The space pirates have all been defeated, and the baby Metroid sacrificed itself to stop Mother Brain and allow the space pirates to be destroyed once and for all. So now Ceres is at peace, and the Federation officially wins the war against the space pirates. But their adventure isn't over yet, as Samus finds something weird that happened with Mario. Everyone, again, that is the end of the Metroid trilogy. The next installment after this is the third installment of the Legend of Zelda trilogy, where we will find out what happened to Link, Zelda, and Hyrule. So I hope you guys are ready for that, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys liked what I did with the EMMIs. They were probably nerfed a little bit in this story. It was like, oh, they were killing everybody. You call that nerfed? Well, wait till you see them in Metroid Dread. You have to understand how elite Samus is. Like, I wanted this story to be very clear on that. But I do hope you guys liked what I did by making the EMMIs extremely menacing and making this like almost an R-rated story. So yes, this was definitely the most violent installment as of right now in this Nintendo Cinematic Universe. But yeah, we'll see what happens later. So everyone, if you enjoyed this installment of my hypothetical NCU, make sure you guys hit the like button normally, subscribe to join the herd, become a VIP herd member today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.